Hello everyone, today in this fast track revision series we will learn about ECG, electrocardiogram. So let's see what is ECG. ECG is a recording of action potentials produced by all the heart muscle fibers during each heartbeat, or the recording of the electrical activity of the heart. As you know that the body is a good conductor of electricity, and body fluids contain ions that conduct electrical currents. Therefore, as action potentials propagate through the heart, they generate electrical currents that can be detected at the surface of the body. So that's what we do in electrocardiogram. The instrument that is used to record the changes is called as electrocardiograph. Be clear about this. An electrocardiogram can give an idea about the rate of the heart, rhythm of the heart, and evidence of blood flow to the heart muscles, and thus it can tell you about the abnormalities of the heart. Now, when an electrocardiogram is being taken, the electrodes are placed on the skin and are connected by wires to an instrument that detect the heart electrical signals or electrical signals of the heart. And how the electrodes are placed? This is a first electrode is placed on the right arm, second one is placed on the left arm, and one on the left leg. So it forms a triangle like structure. It is named after the name of the scientist who invented this process, and this right leg acts as a reference. So let's see how does ECG waves look like, and there are three distinct ECG waves. As you can see, there is P, QRS wave, and a T wave. You can also find U here, but it is seldom seen. Like in NCERT, you won't find a U wave. I'll tell you why. P wave indicates atrial depolarization and is a small upward deflection of the ECG. Atrial, when I say atrial depolarization, I am referring to atrial systole or atrial contraction. From the cardiac cycle diagram, you must be knowing that atrial systole is the first event of the cardiac cycle, and it is of 0.1 seconds. It's a very transient stage. That's why it has a very little deflection in terms of the voltage. And then you'll find a QRS wave. QRS wave indicates the onset of contraction of the ventricles or ventricular depolarization. It represents ventricular depolarization. The Q wave is the first downward deflection after P wave. R wave is the first upward or positive deflection after Q wave, and S wave is the first downward negative deflection after the R wave. There is a third wave called as T wave. It indicates ventricular repolarization or ventricular relaxation and occurs. The T wave is smaller and wide than the QRS complex because repolarization occurs more slowly than the depolarization. And this U wave, in terms of voltage, it is negligible and it indicates the repolarization of the Purkinje fibers. Apart from these three major waves, P, QRS, and T, there are some segments and some intervals. So let's look about them here in the detail. So as I said, P wave is a small upward deflection representing the atrial depolarization spreading from SA node throughout the atria. And then there is a PR segment. So let's see, where is PR segment? PR segment, as you can see here, at the end of the P wave and at the beginning of the Q wave, you can find a segment called as PR segment. This PR segment is the time taken by AV, atrioventricular node, to conduct the impulse. So P wave actually denotes atrial contraction when the SA node generates the impulse, and PR segment, it indicates the time when AV node generates the impulse. And the PR interval, then there is a PR interval, it includes P wave and PR segment. As you can see, it starts from here. Wait, it starts from here and goes up to the PR segment. So this is PR interval, and it includes P wave and PR segment. Then there is QRS segment. As I said, it indicates ventricular repolarization or depolarization or ventricular systole or ventricular contraction. And then there is ST segment. So where is ST segment? As you can see, from S before the start of the T, this is ST segment. So what it indicates? ST segment, it represents the time gap between depolarization and repolarization in the ventricles. So this segment lies between QRS and T. So this segment lies between QRS complex and T wave. So now there is T wave. We have already seen that T wave indicates ventricular repolarization or ventricular relaxation. Then there is QT interval. QT interval is measured from the beginning of the QRS complex to the end of the T wave, and it represents the time between the electrical activity in the ventricles and their return to the resting stage. So this is QT interval. Basically, it is indicating both the depolarization and repolarization of the ventricles, means both the relaxation and contraction and the relaxation of the ventricles. Then there is last RR interval. Basically, you can find RR interval in this diagram. Here, this is the R wave of the QRS complex. So from this QRS R to another wave R, this is RR interval. So let's see. We have already seen what does these waves and intervals and segments indicates. Now it's the time to analyze. The size of the wave can indicate abnormalities. Means if P waves are large, as we said, P waves are an indicative of the atrial depolarization or atrial contraction. So if P wave is large, then it indicates enlargement of the atria, means there is some problem associated with the muscles of the atria. If the Q wave is enlarged, that indicates myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction, this word is synonymously used with a heart attack, means a part of muscles get destroyed due to insufficient nutrient supply, or I can say oxygen supply. And then if the R waves get enlarged, if these R waves get enlarged, then what would happen? Enlarged ventricles. It indicates enlarged ventricles, means there is some problem in the muscles of the ventricles. If the T wave is flat, as you can see in this curve, this is T wave, although it is peaked here, I am talking if the T wave is flat, it indicates insufficient oxygen supply to the heart, as seen in case of coronary artery disease. And elevated T wave indicates hyperkalemia, means increase in the potassium concentration. Now you might be like thinking that we are like emphasizing on the role of potassium, sodium and all. So what does they do? Sodium and potassium decreases the heart rate while calcium increases the heart rate. So you must remember this. And similarly, if QT segment is prolonged, as you can see the QT segment, if it is prolonged, it indicates hypocalcemia. Hypocalcemic condition means calcium is low, and if the calcium is low, then the heart rate would be low. And ST segment shortening, if the ST segment is shortened, it indicates hypercalcemia. So this is all about ECG, and I hope you have understood everything. You can take the screenshot of this page as it is very important. Thank you.